And we often, like, somebody might come in for Centrelink and I'll say, oh, do you want a box of, a bag of veggies and a box of food? Yeah, and a few people, tears in their eyes just because they've been thought of.
These three hard-working ladies are from the Mount Beauty Neighbourhood House at the base of Mount Bogong in Victoria's Alpine Northeast.
I'm Penny Goebel and I'm the Assistant Manager.
Hi, I'm Kathy Gunn. I'm on the board of management here at the Neighbourhood Centre and a fairly regular volunteer as well.
And I'm Kitty Vigo. I'm president of the board and one of the chief dishwashers. Chief dishwasher. Yes, because everybody's got a pitch in.
The centre offers a huge range of varied services for their community, from being a Services Australia agent, providing meeting rooms for businesses, hosting presentations and so on. But underpinning all of these offerings is food.
Give them food and they will come.
That's correct. And we've got the cafe that, people don't come, I'm going to get me psychological tested today or going to talk to a counsellor. They say, I'm going to the coffee morning. And of course, with the coffee and cake morning, you come in and you get a lovely drink and something to eat. But there's
$5
also
barista coffee.
Yes,
platters,
it's a bargain.
Platters.
But there's somebody there giving a chat about, what was it last week? It was,
last week we had...
writing a will, was it?
No, last week's was the aged care packages.
The aged care
so we
packages,
had somebody
that's
from
right.
the
But the week
advocacy,
before it was
aged advocacy.
the week before it was writing your will and,
Right.
and your late life
Things like
planning.
Affordability and access to the food offerings is a priority. And if the people who need it the most can't make it there, no problem.
And we do things like the school canteens. We prepare food for the people on aged care packages and deliver it to them as well, and listen very carefully
And
to
that's
the
expanding
things.
too.
Yes, and listen very carefully to what they like and what they don't like to eat and make sure they get what they like. And each of us, you deliver food, I deliver food, and of course you make nice new friends. And it always takes more time than you think because you start gossiping with them.
Well, it's that personal thing too. It's as much a social event for them. The food's coming today, so you talk to them and you put the things in the fridge and how was that and did you like the tuna mornay, and then you'll hear about the stories about tuna mornay when they were kids and things like that. And but that's as part of much of a mental health plan as anything. And sometimes it might be the only person they see all day.
Which is really sad, isn't it?
Even in a little community like this.
We've been really lucky in that we've been able to participate in things like food share, which we do via the primary school, and we use a lot of that food to prepare much cheaper meals for people, subsidised meals. And as I said earlier, there are people here who really need a lot of help with budgets and things, and are really doing it hard. So we're able to then, we can afford to give away meals to them, which I think is really important. And
we've got some of the staple grocery items as well, like oats and things like that come from Food Share.
Mount Beauty's closest neighbour is the tourist mecca of Bright, about 25 minutes away. Although it would make sense to share resources, people, ideas, which would benefit both communities, the thing that makes both towns so desirable, those beautiful mountains, is also the biggest obstacle.
Often tried to get things going with people in the Ovens Valley, Bright and Port Punker and Harrietville, whatever. And I've often rudely said to people, we can come over to Mount Beauty, it's not like crossing the Himalayas. And they say, yes it is, yes it is. It's really hard road, it's very windy and no. The problem is for Mount Beauty is that people will go to, say, Bright because it is a destination for shopping, where this is not a shopping destination for people from Bright. And that creates kind of problems which shouldn't exist. But the reality is, if we want to work very closely with people in food share operations in Bright, then you've got to think, well, how do we how do we transport it here? How do we access it readily? And it sort of becomes often a little difficult. One of the kind of barriers really is just travelling backwards and forwards, because a lot of that stuff is based over there. We don't necessarily have time to become involved with those meetings and activities. Have talked to Karen. I think it's what is really important that we work much more closely together and collaboratively in trying going for grant applications for things that benefit the whole Shire. I'm not saying that those things don't. In theory they do, but the practicalities of a lot of those potential outcomes are limited by the fact that they're over there and we're over here. And I know it sounds a really silly thing because it's not that far, but that's the reality of it. And it's really frustrating because there's so much we can learn from each other.
Now, where commercial food businesses are ultimately about profit, a neighbourhood house like this is all about community.
That's not, the thing is too, that we're not trying to take over from commercial businesses here. We have a different aim, like it's our community support we use our food for. There's no way we're trying to go in competition with the bakery or the little restaurants in town. They're struggling enough as it is. We understand their journey as well.
I think sometimes the other organisations, the other businesses, sometimes think we are taking business. No, we're not, because the reality is for a lot of the people we get can't afford necessarily to go there. I mean, if we can offer people a cake on a Friday morning, a coffee and a cake on a Friday morning, that's their only social outing. They're not in a position to go into town and pay probably twice that much. There is a real crisis going on with the food affordability. There are many people in this town who are doing it very hard. So for that reason, we are very conscious of trying to serve food and provide support that is reasonably priced, or when necessary, we give it to people for nothing if that's what they need. And to do it in a way that respects their needs and respects where they are in the world.
What a great example of food being so much more than mere sustenance. It can be the vehicle for connection, help, knowledge, and friendship. In a word, community.
Mount Beauty Neighbourhood.
Mount Beauty Neighbourhood Centre.
The hub of the community.
Yeah. Well, our motto is community serving, supporting community. And that's what we try to do, is be part of it as well as helping to keep it going as well.